we did when we had CL here last half hour. I just kind of left for about a half hour, let those two hash it out. It was awesome, by the way, and it'll be on the website later, keelnews.com. But we are joined by State Representative Alan Seabaugh. She's kind of, what's that noise she's making over there?
I'm not sure.
Alan, this doesn't happen to me very often. But I screwed up. And I am so sorry. I completely read the legislative website wrong when I quoted your vote yesterday, saying that you voted for the $99 million from the rainy day fund. Completely inaccurate, correct?
That's correct. Yes, I voted against spending the $99 million.
I am sorry.
In Aaron's defense, is it more complicated than it appears? There was a yes vote, there was a no vote, there was more
concurrent bill,
there was more than one vote. Explain to us
how a moron like me could have confused it.
It's easy to confuse, so don't beat yourself up too much.
It's a little bit, okay.
Essentially, beat yourself up a little. But I did bring you Girl Scout cookies as a peace offering.
Yeah.
Essentially, it came down to two bills. One was the bill to cut spending. Mm-hmm. The second bill was the one to backfill the budget using the $99 million.
Okay.
Now, that was the one that I voted against, as did your two guests yesterday, Senators Milkovich and Peacock. Mm-hmm. The difference was the other bill, House Bill 3, they both voted against. That was a bill that actually cut spending.
They voted against cutting spending?
They voted against cutting spending. And I didn't realize they had done it until I was listening to the interview yesterday, and I went back and looked it up. I couldn't figure out what you were talking about when you said they were the only two no votes. And I looked it up, and they voted against cutting spending, and I don't really
so I
understand
confused
that.
the bills.
Apparently, yes.
Oh, I feel like an ultramaroon. I really do. You voted for spending cuts.
Correct.
You voted for what ultimately passed, except the $99 million. Right?
Yes, I didn't believe that it should be filled with using the budget stabilization fund. There were other ways to do it. There were two proposals in the House. One, I can't really fault the Senate too much because we couldn't get it out of the House. It actually got more yeses than no. The vote was 47 yes, 46 no, but you need 53 to get it out. And so it didn't actually go to the Senate. That balanced the budget. No cuts to higher ed, no cuts to K through 12, no cuts to public-private partnership without using any of the rainy day.
Now, for me to make a comment yesterday like I did when I wasn't in my right mind, that you must have made some sort of deal with the governor to vote for that was offensive to you, correct?
Yes, because I'm never going to sell a vote for anything.
Gotcha.
And that was the part that bothered me, and that's why I texted you when I heard it.
But when we had Miss Dodie Horton here,
I hope you know that was a mistake. And,
I understand.
Okay.
And I appreciate you giving me a
when
chance
Dodie was
to clear
here
the
yesterday, and we asked her sort of the same question, and I had said, please understand that the term deal was not. I didn't imply anything negative, but I figured that John Bell, for him to get the $99 million. That he had to give something up.
He did.
And my question to Dodie was, so what did you guys get? And she explained how it was the promise from the governor to get through the Senate the resolution that the allocated monies to pay down the bond debt, which for 20 years the state has failed to do, God knows why, will finally, the money that's been allocated to go to pay down the bond debt will actually go to pay down the bond debt.
And that did happen, and that's correct. Essentially, the way it works is we have to pay down bonded indebtedness, and we've been paying it out of the general fund. But there's this provision in both the Constitution and the statutory law that says it can be paid out of certain unused funds up to 3%, and that 3% would be $96 million. So what we essentially did is gave the treasurer a resolution, a kickstart to say, start doing that. So what'll happen is it doesn't put the money into the general fund. What it does is it pays the bonded indebtedness out of those funds, which frees up $96 million of general fund money that can go to other things like TOPS.
And it's just been ignored for nigh on 2 decades.
3 treasurers have ignored it. And Kennedy told us last year.
He wanted the resolution.
Yeah, we'll start doing it if you give us something to kickstart it. And so we brought a resolution last year, and the Senate wouldn't even talk about it.
And so the deal, so to speak, was that Ms. Dodie was referring to was to get your resolution through the Senate, which, bluntly put, John Bell controls. John Bell said, I'll get that through the Senate.
That's correct. And essentially, to me, the bond redemption fund is a good idea. I'm not sure that it's going to produce $96 million. I'm color me skeptical, and to me, it wasn't worth the trade-off. If it works out, great. I'll admit I was wrong, and I hope I was wrong. But to me, it wasn't worth it. But that is what happened that caused about 30 Republicans that were solid no votes on the $99 million from the rainy day to switch over.
There are a lot of people, wise people, who think that the trouble, that the budget hole, as John Bell called it, as Governor Edwards called it, this year's budget hole is just the tip of the iceberg, that this year is just the start of fiscal trouble year after year after year for the next X number of years. Do you feel that way, or are you a bit more optimistic?
No, it's a matter of perspective. We again, I keep saying this, we spent $3 billion this year more than last year. So if we have a hole, it's because we tried to spend $3.4 billion more than we had last year. I mean, that's
which is
essentially
a fact that is occasionally overlooked by the administration.
That's correct. We're not short of money. I mean, we have more this year than we did last year. We're supposed to have more next year than we do this year. So if we're short, it's only because we have a spending problem. And that goes back to what, I mean, I've been saying for 10 years since I ran for office the first time. We have a spending problem. We do not have a revenue problem.
Okay, so we had Senator John Milkovich yesterday, and he sort of hinted, Mr. John intimated that the way the budget problem was presented, framed by Governor Edwards, and the solutions that were put forth by Governor Edwards were in macro designed to show Louisiana how we need more taxes. Is that legit?
Absolutely. I mean, what he did with the budget proposal, as soon as the special session ended, he put out his proposal for next year's budget, and it funded all of his pet projects, all of his welfare giveaways, all of his entitlements, and it did not fund things that he knows people care about, like TOPS and some other things. And he essentially threw down the gauntlet. He said, if you want to fund those, raise taxes. And
it also has cuts to hospitals, which is a really prime concern here. What is that looking like?
Well, that was the debate last year. We had a finite amount of money, and the question was, is that going to the hospitals or TOPS? And last year, hospitals won, essentially. I mean, there were several votes to cut. What are you going to cut? Are you going to cut hospitals or TOPS? And by and large, the hospitals came out better than TOPS did.
I asked you a couple of minutes ago, I said, are you optimistic about the financial outlook, the financial future for the state? And you said, yeah, because I'm that kind of guy. It depends on how you look at it. But on the other hand, if so many Republicans, and let me sort of use the term conservatives also, would go along with the John Bell fix, with the John Bell plan to fix the budget hole, how optimistic can you be that Republicans, to keep the budget the size of state government in sort of in the corral, will stand together and stand united?
I am confident simply because you're comparing using the $99 million from the rainy day. That's not the same thing as raising taxes or doing something that's going to affect people. Spending the $99 million doesn't really affect you and me. I mean, that's not going to have an effect on any average Joe citizen. No citizen is going to call and say, that really hurts
my
me
share of that 99 mil?
Because you spent the $99 million. But when you raise taxes or cut a program like TOPS, that absolutely directly affects people. And look, I have two daughters in college. I just wrote much bigger checks than I wanted to write or that I thought I was going to write when TOPS was in place. It's difficult, and those things definitely affect people. I am optimistic, especially in the year that we're fixing to go into, that we can fully fund the public-private partnership hospitals, fund TOPS, and do it in a way that without raising taxes. The problem is going to be the next year. In the next fiscal year, when
in other words, like 19.
Correct. The 18-19 fiscal year, when the 1 cent sales tax drops off. That's the fiscal cliff everybody's talking about.
Oh, but y'all will just renew it.
That's going to be the fight this year. And I actually just moved to the Ways and Means Committee that gets to vote on that. And I am going to do everything I can to make sure that sunset stays in place.
Okay.
Because that needs to drop. We have the highest sales tax in the nation. I mean, it's like putting a big not open for business sign in the state of Louisiana telling people, I believe that with President Trump coming in, some of the things that he's doing from an economic development standpoint, deregulating banks, deregulating business, I think we're in line for a huge period of economic expansion everywhere in this country, perhaps except for Louisiana, because we have this mentality of we're going to get every penny we can out of everybody, and we're going to chase business away. And right now, this is the absolute worst time to have these not open for business signs up at the border of Louisiana. We elected the wrong governor at the wrong time with the wrong mentality. And it would have been probably okay if for him to be governor if the other side had won the presidential election, because then they'd be doing all the giveaways. Well, I don't think Trump's lining Democrat governors up for giveaways. And frankly, I don't want them. I'd rather do it from the private sector. Let's gin up the economy. Let's create jobs. Let's put money in business, and let's deregulate and let business flourish. I mean, the fact of the matter is competition is good. When you let the market let people compete, the cream rises to the top.
Sure.
And if you shouldn't be there, then somebody else will build a better mousetrap and replace you. But that's essentially what this governor has done, is look at every nook and cranny that he can to find a way to tax small business, to tax individuals, and to expand entitlements.
Let's go a little long. We got just about a minute, maybe a little less. John Bell, 23 cent a gallon gas tax increase. His transportation task force, 23 cent a gallon gas tax increase. Sean Wilson, 23. You know what I'm.
No, exactly what you're.
What's going to happen with that, and what chance does it have?
Here's a quick. I'm going to give you a slightly long story. John Bell wanted a Democrat to be Speaker of the House, and what he almost got away with it, because what he was doing was offering bridges, roads, capital outlay projects to freshman representatives who didn't know that we don't have any money to pay for those projects. And when we were able to convince him, he's offering to get your vote, but he's offering you something he can't deliver.
The pinata is
what
empty.
He's trying to do with the 23 cent a gallon gas tax is to give himself money to buy legislators. And we're winning right now because he can't buy these unsuspecting freshman Republican legislators. That we've convinced them that what he's offering you are false promises. The 23 cent a gallon gas tax is simply for nothing other than to put some money in his coffers so that he can use it to get votes from Republican legislators who don't normally go along with
when Dr. Wilson at DOTD says, well, we need that for the roads, we need some combination that adds up to, what was it, $700 million. When Dr. Sean says that, there's a gap between what you're saying, what John Bell says, what Dr. Wilson says.
But there's always going to be a gap between what I say and what John Bell says, because I'm going to tell you the truth and he's going to lie to you, and that's just a fact. But the fact is, we do have bad roads in Louisiana. There's no question, and we have some infrastructure that we need to work on. But the problem is we have the money. That's the problem. We don't need a 23 cent a gallon gas tax to get there. We have the money now. It's just not being spent properly. Again, when you increase DHH by $3 billion, $1 billion of state effort, $2 billion of federal money, when you increase that in 1 year, that's a huge increase over last year. 25% increase in one department when you cut everybody else. You can find that $700 million for the roads in DHH and nobody would notice.
Alan Seabaugh, state representative. Again, thanks for your time.